Hello and welcome back to the Collective Clicks podcast. Today I'm going to be interviewing Aaron Gaunt, who is a client of ours at Bateman Collective for probably 3 or 4 months at this point. Aaron shares a ton of great insights, including why and how he decided to expand into multiple markets instead of just staying in Southern California. He talks about his simplified sales script and how that's been working to help them perform in the top 10% of our clients from a lead conversion standpoint. And we also talk about his journey of being a father and some of the things that he's passionate about. This is the first podcast of the year, recording fresh on January 3rd. You excited for the new year?
2023 is going to be good.
Yeah, I'm excited as well. Which year is this for you in wholesaling? I'm curious. It's 2023. Like, how long have you been doing this?
Yep. So we just ended our third year, full year. We literally started in 2020. So all that year, 2021, 2022, that was our third year. We are going on to our fourth this year.
Exciting. Well, for everybody listening, not everybody knows you, of course. I know several will from your podcast or the masterminds you're in and all that kind of stuff. That's how we know you. So let's give a little bit of an intro. Tell me a little bit about your story, what exactly you do, what you focus on in real estate.
Yeah, man, I have a fantastic story. And I say that with pride because what real estate has done for me and my family has not just given me financial freedom, but fatherhood freedom, a marriage, a house, a life, freedom from a 9-to-5. So basically, what happened a little while back, I was in the fire department. I got a job in the fire department here in San Diego. I met a individual, a little lady, and we got her pregnant very early on in our. And I'm going to be fully transparent. Got her pregnant. We were dating probably about 3 months. She decided that she didn't want to be a mom. So, at that time, she was going to go give her up for adoption. She said that I wasn't going to be in her life, etc. Now, I wasn't going to let that happen. So I opened up a court case before she was even born. I wanted 50-50. I just wanted to be in my daughter's life. I didn't want anything else, anything from her. I just wanted to be a father. I did what I did, and I'm going to suck it up and be a father, and we'll get to the good part too. I'm a happily father right now. So, anyways, if you've ever been in court, it costs a lot of money. I was making probably about 80-90 grand a year in the fire department, not making really much. So I ended up going into debt, fighting and going into this court case, going into the court battle, paying for attorneys, paying for her, etc. I looked back and I said, okay, how can I pay for a good, decent attorney? I didn't want to do this on my own. I knew I needed legal help. We had a lot of emotions into it, especially when it comes to your kids. So what happened is I remember like it was yesterday. I sat down on my bed. I looked at the ceiling. I said, how do I get into, how do I make money? So anyways, back in the Navy, I served in the Navy for 8 years. I remember there were books that we used to pass around, bunk to bunk. And one of those books that we passed around back when I was in the service was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Big surprise, right? But I didn't take any action on that. I was still in my early 20s, decided to continue on partying and, going to all these ports and just keep drinking and not worry about my financial future. Decided I just wanted to be a fireman. But when the time came, I decided to pick up that book. I said, you know what? I remember that book I read back in the Navy, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Let me go pick it up. I read it again, and I said, okay, real estate is what's going to get me through this court case and help me pay these bills. But then I said, I'm in debt. How the heck am I going to be able to how am I going to get into real estate while I'm in debt with no money? So I had asked the question again, how now? Not that I can't, right? You can't. If you stop with the whole I can't, then you just stop your train of thought. Well, I said, how can I? I did my research. I typed in Google, how to get in real estate with no money. What came up was wholesaling, right? So I looked into it. Yep. I was literally at the fire department at that time. Went down YouTube University trying to figure out what this wholesale was. So I don't know. After maybe a week or 2 weeks, I decided I saw that there was coaching programs. These guys were talking about, hey, we coach. And remember, this is at the end of 2019. So then I ran into Wholesale and Inc. Tom Kroll, Cody Hoffine at the time were running it. Fantastic individuals. When I called them, I said, hey, I want to figure out wholesale and I want to join your course. I even thought it might have been a scam at that time. I called them up. I had one of their sales reps me and him were talking on the phone, and he told me a little bit about it, what's going to cost, and I'm going to be transparent. It was $5,000 at the time. Well, I was off at the fire department at that time. I was dating my wife now, but my girlfriend at the time. I went over to her job. I said, hey, there's this thing called wholesaling Inc. They're going to teach me how to do this thing wholesale so I can get into real estate with quote unquote no money. Now, again, right off the bat, it's costing me money to get into real estate. So I did my research. I found out they're not scams. They had a bunch of good reviews. I called the salesperson back who was selling the course at the time, and I roped up my credit card and I put Wholesale Inc. on my credit card. Anyways, I got into the course. They were teaching direct mail at the time. As we all know, direct mail is a huge chunk of change. So what I do is, to keep marketing, I did direct mail and I put it all on my credit card. So much getting into real estate with no money, right? Anyways, 2 months later, I knew I had to make this work. I already invested this much into it. 2 months later, I closed on my first deal, and it was $19,000. It was a huge win because I got to go walk into my attorney's office, give him a check that paid most of it off at the time, but I kept going. And that's how I got my first deal and how I got into real estate. And fast forward to today, I do have my daughter full-time. I got full legal, I have full physical, I'm a full-time dad, and I do not work at the fire department anymore, and I'm able to be there for my daughter every single step of the way.
Yeah, that is an incredible story, Aaron. I knew about half of that before you shared it. But that's really neat. So needless to say, real estate has blessed your life in a lot of ways. One thing I am really curious about. You said like free from the 9 to 5. How many hours a week do you work now? I'm curious.
Well, I want to back that up for when I first quit. I know we get a lot of questions on when can I quit my 9 to 5? When can I quit my day job before I get into real estate? For me, so you're in Zach Booth's market. So I became a good buddy of Zach Booth at that time, and I was doing deals. I had this one big deal in the pipe, ready to close. It was $55,000. Hasn't closed yet. I was still working at the fire department. Zach Booth gives me a call and said and I was literally in the car coming out of a store. I think we hopped, and he calls me. He's so personable. He calls me through Facebook like app or whatever, and we start talking. He asked me how's everything going, and told him about the deal. And he said, "Dude, you need to quit your job and just do this full time." And with my girlfriend there at the time, and I was like, "Oh man, it's scary. If you know anything, getting into the fire department is not an easy task." So I went to a bunch of schools, got a bunch of qualifications, went through a bunch of interviews to get to where I was at. But I knew I needed, because I was actually gonna get my daughter full time. It was kind of, I needed to be there. I think my wife at the time was actually taking care of her, and I needed to be there as well. So what did I do before it closed? Me and my wife talked about it. I said, we're going to quit the job once this deal closes. So at the fire department, the day that the property was recorded, I was sitting in the bay where all the engines and ambulances are. I was refreshing my bank account, just refreshing it. The moment it hit my bank account, $55,000 hit my bank account. That was incredible money to anybody. I went into my chief's office. I said, hey, chief, here's my 2 weeks notice. I got something great going on. And they already knew I was doing a business too, because I would be in the fire department, cold calling, talking to sellers. I would literally be on the engine coming from a call, pinning houses for Drive for Dollars. Getting back from a fire, I'd pin that house. We just got back from a fire. So they knew, and funny story, I actually got in trouble a few times with the chief saying, you can't be working on your business here. So it was great to finally give him my 2 weeks notice and going off from my 9 to 5. So.
Okay, that's awesome. Good for you. And so that's the beginning. Tell us a little bit about Seller's New Day today. Like what exactly is it that you guys focus on? Where do you do that? What does your team look like? That kind of thing.
Fantastic question. So just like what I decided to do was I read the book The One Thing by Gary Keller. When I got into real estate, we all know that there's 100 avenues that you can get through in real estate. I decided to focus on one niche, and that was wholesaling real estate. After that $19,000, I said, okay, how can I make this repeatable and scalable? And so I just focused on wholesaling. So to this day, after those 3 years, we just closed off our third year. We've made over 7 figures just in assignment fees. We're transactional based at the moment. So what we do, what our team looks like to this day, we do have our own office. We call it a fulfillment side, and we have our sales side. And what that means is our sales side will get the contract and give it to our fulfillment side, because if you know anything, deals fall apart. You got to chase buyers around, you got to chase sellers around, you got to chase title companies, escrow companies, whoever around to get the deal to the finish line. So we need a whole department for that side. So we have in our fulfillment side, we have our TC, we have a dispositions manager, they have 2 virtual disposition people as well. We have my wife that runs the fulfillment side. On the sales side, for just now, earlier in the year, we had 4 acquisition guys. We don't have that anymore. It's right now, it's just myself, another individual, and we have a lead manager, and then we have a few other virtual people, like administrative people. So it's kind of lean and mean, especially when we saw that market change, market shift. We had to lean out and focus a lot on inbound leads. Now, the reason why I'm on this show is because we started focusing more motivation on the inbound rather than outbound. We had a bunch of cold callers, SMS. We're still doing a little bit of direct mail. But we just saw that the lead quality wasn't there. So that's where I decided to hit up my man Brandon and get on his team and have you guys work that out. And right off the bat, first month, first week, we got our first deal. It was a $40,000 deal in LA, and I remember you even saying that's a skinny deal for LA. But possibly last month, before the market change, it could have been a lot larger, but it was still pretty cool seeing proof of concept at that time. And so now we're just fully focused and loving PPC. We're dumping all of our eggs. I'll be honest, we're dumping all of our eggs right now in PPC. We do a little bit of pre-foreclosures here in Southern California. So I have an administrative assistant that pulls all the data for pre-foreclosures and all the what's called markets. We cold call, text, and send direct mail just to pre-foreclosures. We have our other acquisition guy that focuses all on MLS properties, and then right now I'm the one focusing and closing all the PPC deals.
Okay, that's awesome. Great to hear that. I'm glad it's been going well for you too. I don't think anybody would turn away from a $40,000 deal. It might be skinny for LA, but I think still worth the transaction coordination and whatnot to get it closed, I'd assume. That's great news. So tell me a little bit more about your journey so far with digital marketing. Like what have, because you talk about the very beginning, right? Like the first week you got a deal, but since then, what has happened and what's like, how do you see that fitting into the more long-term plan with your company? Like, how's that going to grow through 2023 and beyond?
No, 100%. So one thing I wanted to focus on, and there are debates, but how I see it right now. So I used to think that going deeper and not wider was the key, right? I wanted to go deeper in Southern California. We were solely focused on Southern California. A lot of people were afraid they'd run away from Southern California, but we were doing deals and a good amount of size deals, good rippers. I mean, we have a 120K rip that we just did today. We locked up today, and in San Bernardino. So those are the kind of deals you're going to see in Southern California, and those are fantastic, right? But anyway, so instead of going deeper, when we saw the market correction, we saw that the West Coast just got annihilated with prices. Price cuts prices are going down like there's no tomorrow. So that opened up my eyes and said we need to go wider, because the properties that have are $200,000 and below, those properties are still flying off the shelf from investors and for our cash buyers. So I decided to say, hey, let's go wider. And let's keep that morale, because that's something we're really going to focus on here in the upcoming year is culture. And I really want the culture high. Now, I do want big rips. I do want, and we're going to still get those. But I also want deals just to really come through the pipe to keep my team busy, keep my team motivated, so we can ring that bell, so we can celebrate. No matter if it's a $2,000 deal to a $100,000 deal, I just want action, activity. That's kind of how I see it right now. Because we did 19 contracts last month. This month we're in projection of doing the 25 contracts this month, and we're going to make that happen through PPC. I'll be honest. That's where we're going to get it, and really focusing on that inbound marketing, and then also focus on those like I said, those pre-foreclosures and MLS deals. The reason why we hit MLS, because they're already on the market, they're already motivated. They're saying, hey, they're raising their hand. Agents are going out of business. Agents are struggling right now. Sellers are going crazy. We're getting some good rippers right now off of the MLS just because they're not they're not selling. So that's when we get to come in and say, hey, we'll give you a low ball offer and move this for you. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely understood. I like how you talked about that kind of that difference between focus, like going deeper in a market versus going wider. A little bit of context for everybody, at least as I remember it. I think we started out just advertising in Southern California, and then we kind of added one city in Texas, and then we kind of expanded to Southern California and many major cities in Texas. And now we're probably going even wider than that. What has been your experience through that, though? I'm specifically curious to hear like what challenges you ran into with that shift and how you overcame those challenges, because this is something where some of our most successful clients tend to do this, spread across more markets, because as you probably noticed, you get more leads that way, and there's more opportunities coming across your plate. That said, there's a lot of people who are scared to do it, and then there are a lot of people also that have tried it and have failed for various reasons.
No, 100%. So that by taking that step of imperfect action, figuring out those other markets, because I believe that we have the infrastructure at this time to be able to handle the deals and deals anywhere. And being said, we do have platforms and we know how to find buyers in all different markets. We pay a crap ton of money for the platforms for those. So what happened? You're right. We started in Southern California. We went off to Texas. That's when I said, "Oh, the market's changing. I want more leads coming through." Then I think we only started in San Antonio because I got a lead somehow in San Antonio. We made a good amount of chunk on it. So I said, "Hey, let's go check San Antonio." Then we went to the major areas all around Texas. Then I said, "Screw it, let's go all," because we were getting leads. Because as we already know, you could target an area, but sometimes you might get a lead in a different state. And it's just name of the game. And I'm like, well, we can move all these deals anywhere. Anytime we got a lead from a different state, we were still moving it. So it was just like, let's just do this all over. Let's bring and I've heard that, right? Let's bring their cost per lead. Let's get more lead flow in the database, because when you're looking at lead to contract, it's going to be a lot cheaper for the amount we're spending, right? Because I just want leads, right? The more leads, the more opportunities that I get in front of me. I mean, it's going to be, it's going to come down. So that being said, we are all virtual. I used to be a component of going belly to belly with these sellers. Now we learned how to put on the headphones and basically use the techniques that we use to lock up the deals. And I know we'll probably talk about that here, and I guess I'll jump right into it. How we lock up the deals is by giving them more than just one option. Now they're all transactional based still, right? We still don't go and flip them. We really don't hold them. We're a sales and marketing company, and so our company is providing the opportunities for other investors. That's just what we do, and we get paid very well for it. But when a lead comes in, my script basically goes like this, and it's the shortest script we've ever had, because the leads are motivated. They're not saying, "Why did you call me?" You make me an offer. They know what they want. They know when they want it, and that's why we love these leads. So when they come in, I go right off the bat, "Hey, it looks like a great property. Why are you even consider selling this property?" So trying to get that why out of them, which is probably already on my dashboard because they already filled out the form, but I want to get a little deeper on it. Then I tell them, "Hey, here at Seller's New Day, we have a few options. Is it okay if we tell you these options?" And then we go down, we say, "Hey, we have our cash offer option. We have our retail buyer option, which is our novation option. And then we have our listing option." We usually will partner with other listing agents in the area where we find it. You could just literally go on Zillow, you go on Facebook, and just say, "Hey, is there any listings agents in the area?" And then from there, then I say, "What do you think would be the best fit for you?" Most of the time, believe it or not, they say, "I want a cash offer." You say, "Perfect." Then you get to go down that rabbit hole, and you ask them the 4 pillars, and then you make them the ballpark of each option. And then guess what? Believe it or not, I would say 7 out of 10 times they pick the cash option offer, because there are pros and cons to each option, right? And that cash offer option is always going to be the most convenient thing to solve their problems the fastest. So then they'll go that. We say, "Perfect. Let me send you the agreement." Their point of contact is going to be their TC, our fulfillment side, and then boom, it's off my plate, and I'm off to the next lead. I don't talk to that seller anymore.
Yeah, understood. By the way, I think that's so important. I think far too many people try to push acquisitions managers into like some type of transaction coordination role or something like that, which is just a nightmare waiting to happen. So I love that you can just kind of focus on.
You can't do volume that way.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so interesting. And I imagine that the difference in price between like the retail option, for example, and the cash offer option has to be huge. I think a lot of people a lot of our clients would be afraid to like show both those things because they think they'll just go retail every time because it's more money,
Right.
right? Because we're thinking like we would think, like if I was selling my house, what would I do? You
Hmm.
have any feedback on that?
No, by give so I read the book How to Win Friends and Influence People, and the reason I say that is because that's how I created my script. By letting them make the decision, having it be their choice, you'll win it, 9 out of 10 times. And the reason being is because if they want the retail option, if they want to list their property, you've now disqualified that they're not a cash offer. They'll never be a cash option. I'm telling you that right now. And you always got to put an offer on the table. You always got to give them the ballparks, and it's great because what I like to say in those like I explain very briefly on what each option looks like. I also have a kind of like an email attachment where I have little videos that kind of explain each option as well, for they can really make that decision that's best for them and their family. And then once they're able to pick the option again, most of them actually pick the cash option, which is pretty awesome because they're literally looking at your website trying to find a cash option deal, because that's what we're marketing toward. Those are our clients. That's our audience. Yeah, and yeah, don't be afraid to give them all those options, because you could. And also, like I said, I got a listing appointment here at 1 actually, and I am more than happy. Everybody in our office is a real estate agent. I encourage everybody to be a real estate agent in my office, even if they don't use it, just because 1, I want them to understand the basics of real estate, and 2, yeah, if they could help out or they could co-list or whatever, but everybody gets to kind of show that, hey, I am a real estate agent, and I know what we're talking about.
Yeah, understood. I'd love to dig into your process for each one of those, each one of those 3 options, if you get a little bit deeper into it. So for the cash offer option, one concern that a lot of people have expanding from a market that they're used to being in to new markets is that even if they could do virtual acquisitions, to wholesale virtually, like the dispositions part is something that they might not have experience with. They might not have a buyer's list in that area, whatever the case is.
True.
What
Right.
has your process been for overcoming that?
Yeah, no, fantastic. So, dispositions is going to be our key thing to dominate this downturn, right? And that being said, I put all my VAs at the time, like last month, up until last month, I put all my VAs on dispo. I said, y'all need to call all the buyers in these areas to sell these properties. Contracts were kind of coming a little more easier than dispo was, and that's kind of why everybody was struggling. But now we're starting to get them off of the dispo because we're starting to get our rhythm back. But we do use the platform Investor Lift. We use cartel mode, so we pay a crap. To be honest, we pay a crap ton of money. To be honest, so it's like I'm not going to tell you that. I'm going to tell you right now, everybody who you see on Instagram saying we can move your deals, it's because they have Investor Lift and they pay the 30, 50 grand, whatever it is, to be on Investor Lift with all those buyers. And we do that. We use that too. And we have buyers all around because we target, right? I like what you guys do. Target all the lights, the solid lights where people are living, those big metro areas. So when we talk about nationwide, we're not talking about just anywhere and everywhere. We're really targeting those big those cities, right? Where all the people are living. Well, anyways, that's where Investor Lifts are going to have their buyers. That's where investors are going to buy. They're not going to buy it rural. So if you ever see anything rural, you can almost toss that deal out. You can sell them sometimes, but it's going to be really difficult. We also use other platforms such as PropStream, where you could pull all the cash buyers in the area, call them. If you can't move a deal, the best thing you could do is JV with somebody in that market who might have a solid cash buyers list. They're all over Facebook. So we'll have some of my VAs, such as Jim. She's one of our VAs. She's a rock star, and she'll run around all over Facebook in those markets, finding people to JV with. So I always tell the guys, like, let's not give it up yet, because it's not an order taking. I just talked to my dispo this morning. I said, hey, we got these couple deals ready to be, they're out there right now. How do you plan on? I want them to think, how do you plan on selling this deal, right? What are your ideas, right? I don't want that, because we're not order takers anymore. I'm sorry. The good old days of sending out an email and then getting offers. That's done. Some of them can't. Some deals do still fly off the shelf like that, as long as you blast it out right. but if you really want to sell a deal, you got to work. And matter of fact, even in our office, just like we talk about at CG, it is all hands on deck right now. I am making everybody come into my office, and we got to work out of our office today. I mean, this year, just because it is all hands on deck, and we're going to survive this downturn. And we're going to not just survive, we're going to thrive this downturn. So, but everybody needs to be in the office because communication needs to be key right now.
Yeah, understood. No, absolutely. You did answer the question. That's awesome. Because I also think one thing you said means a lot, because we have had some clients that even use Investor Lift, for example, that just don't have the traction. But you ask them what they're doing, and they're just, either they're marketing to the wrong areas. That can happen, right? Where Investor Lift doesn't have a strong presence or something like that, or they don't have that kind of sales mentality around it. Like you can press a button on Investor Lift and email a bunch of buyers, but that's not going to have the same impact as calling specific buyers and all that kind of stuff to move the deal. So so that makes a ton of sense that you're willing to do that. What about? I'm really curious to dive into your retail option because I think a lot of people haven't really tapped into this a ton. I've heard a few things from people here. One, like some companies have like a hybrid thing where they have agents in-house and they also invest in stuff. And I think that works, especially for one market. You go virtual, that's obviously going to be a different game. When it comes to realtor referrals, I've heard of people struggling just to make it actually happen. Like they give the referral and then just the rate of those actually becoming deals that turn into money for them is just really, really low. And then, of course, there's that struggle of dealing with new markets and how do you facilitate that process and all that kind of stuff. Do you have any advice in terms of like how to monetize those retail leads that a lot of people might just be throwing away?
Yeah, so funny. Actually, I have it right here. Wasn't planning on even doing this. So we did push a lot of our leads when we were in Southern California to 2 to 3 agents that we really trust, and they would follow up on these lists. I literally, when we first hopped on here and I was talking to somebody, you might have heard somebody in the background. That was actually my wife talking to one of our agents that we were pushing our leads, and he came to drop off this check right here. We charge him like 30% for the lead. So if he closes on it, he gives us whatever. So he just came to drop off the check. But just like you said, they weren't closing on all the leads that I was expecting that they should be closing on, especially if we're spending all this money on these leads. So what we now do is like I said, everybody in our office is an agent. So what we do is now we list the property. Now that has to be in Southern California because we're only agents here in California. So we do list properties here in Southern California. Now, if you're talking about like retail in another state, like I said, we could partner with an agent out there, but usually our 2 best options for outside of California is going to be our cash option and our novation option.
Understood. Okay, that makes sense. So it's a little bit less on the retail side outside of California, which totally makes sense. Let's talk about novations a little bit. What kind of, personally, I'm super bullish on novations. I know we have a ton of clients doing very well with them. And I think they're also really attractive if you're doing more of the nationwide model, which, as you mentioned, isn't necessarily nationwide, but across several markets, just because it overcomes that problem of not having a buyer's list in that area. You basically have the MLS as your buyer's list, which is the biggest buyer's list, right? Have you run into any unexpected hurdles trying to do novations in areas outside of areas that you're familiar with?
Did you say you're bullish on novations? Do you have your own wholesale in business as well?
Technically, yes. I'm not super involved. But
Okay.
when I'm speaking to that, I'm speaking mostly from pretty anecdotal experience talking with a lot of clients recently that are having a lot of success with it, with our marketing and novations as their exit strategy, especially those that are going a little bit wider geographically. One specific client I'm thinking of, their return on investment increased really significantly when they introduced novations. They're just closing a larger percentage of their leads, and then they also had larger spreads on the back end.
Nice.
And they were running a national model. I'm just curious because I know a lot of people are doing single market novations. I'm curious if this process of going from Southern California and expanding that into Texas, if you had any hurdles that you didn't expect with that, or if everything, for you to do novation in Texas now versus California, is it more difficult? Are you as successful with it? Are there hurdles there that you didn't expect? That kind of thing.
No, great question. So you're going to have to ask me that question here later this year on one of our meetings because we have done novation because as you already know, we're going nationwide, but we haven't gone nationwide yet. I think we're supposed to launch that this week. We have been in Texas. We have we have a few innovations in the pipe right now on the board in Texas, right? They have not closed. We have done novations right here in California. So I don't have too much experience yet on closing novations nationwide yet, but that's going to be a huge thing because we got it down. We got all the platforms, we got all the paperwork, we got everything that we need to lock up the deals as novations. But like I said, a lot of them have been just going with the cash deal, and But if you want to learn novations, there are three individuals that I would like to give shout outs to, and that's Eric Brewer, Corey Geary, and Todd Toback. Those are three fantastic individuals that you can learn novations at a high level.
Yeah, I've heard excellent things about all three of those people when it comes to teaching novations. So that's incredible. Well, perfect. Thank you for sharing all of that. Is there anything else you would say for someone who is like they've just done single market for a long time? They're considering, should I go into multiple markets? They're probably honestly pretty scared right now because it doesn't feel like the time to be doing something like that. Right. Is there anything else you'd say as a piece of advice?
Well, I'll be honest. I had my dispo guy. He kept saying like we need to go in other markets before the market correction, and I said no. Let's focus on Southern California. Let's really. I wanted to make 250, 400,000 in just our market before we moved into other markets. Now, the funny thing is, so I said 250. I said we need to do consistently $250,000 in this market per month before. And this is last year. It's like early last year. And then I got a coach, and then he said, no, you need to do. And he was in California, and he said you need to do 400,000. He said that's when you know. That's when you. And guess what? He's in other markets. So once the market shifted, that's when we decided we need to go to other markets to keep the deal flow coming. What I would say is, you might already be on. A lot of your clients might already be on the East Coast and stuff like that, but obviously that's when the deal flow is going to start happening. I would just, like I said, whatever you're doing right now, start documenting everything that you're doing. Start JV and collaborate with other individuals that are in those markets if you can't move a deal. Because if you want to, let's say you do go PPC, because that's the one thing I love about PPC that I've seen in my short time doing it is, you can scale it quick. Turn it on, turn it off, and you're going to have, and especially having somebody else do it for you. I can imagine myself doing it and doing it correctly, especially with everything else is on our own plate. But document everything, learn from other people. There is a written formula that you just need to figure out on how to do it in other markets, and that written formula are in people's heads, like myself, like Brandon's, and like other people that you just, to be honest, need to pay to get that formula. Yeah,
fair enough. So in the spirit of giving the formula away for free, one other thing I'm curious to see. But by the way, Aaron, we do measure our clients all on lead conversion, and we see like how well they're doing in terms of like closing deals, because it seems like everybody says like I have the best acquisitions process ever. I close tons of deals. We're the best. And honestly, if you're going to be the best, you have to think that, right? So I'm not like blaming anybody for thinking that. Like you have to think you're the best. You have to think your team's the best. The process is the best. Like that's important for culture, morale, all those kinds of things. But beyond that, I can tell you that you're in our top 10% in terms of lead conversion, which is great. I'm curious to dig into that a little bit more. You mentioned that your acquisitions process, and a couple things that I'd like to know are, number one, how, because you explained kind of what it looks like right now, but I'm curious, how is that different from what it was before, and like why specifically you think that difference makes a difference? And then anything else that you'd have in terms of like hypotheses that you have for why it is that you're converting better than some other people on these leads.
Oh man, that is a great question, and that's really cool. Actually, I wrote what our leads contract was and how many deals we've got. I wrote it all down just in case if we had to talk about that. But no, so when I first started, I got really big into sales. When I first, Max Jimenez, I remember back in the day, I used to follow disruptors and all that, and great individuals. I love those guys. And Max Jimenez, he had a story. He threw up this book. It was called Asking Questions the Sandler Way. And again, I haven't really done many deals at that time. So I decided to go buy that book. I bought it off Amazon, read that book when I was still working at the fire department. I was in the room. I read that book, and that's actually what got me to get that $55,000 deal that made me quit my job. And so anyway, so that was the start of like sales, right? You got to have a kind of like emotional intelligence already. And then when you learn sales, you learn all like the techniques and stuff like that you can't, like the silences, the questions, the the rebuttals, learning how to do objections, really, doing active listening. Like, I'll be honest, this is the most, when I'm on a podcast with somebody else, it's like my time to talk. Usually I'm always listening, active listening, and then redirecting a question so I could dig deeper into what's going on, just kind of what you're doing right now. So anyways, but that's what I learned from that book. And then I read a couple other sales books. And then I did a bunch of sales programs. I did John Martinez. I did Steve Trangs. I've done Eric Klein's. I've done all these sales trainings. They've all been fantastic. I've learned bits and tricks. And it was just me just talking to so many individuals, figuring out what's a deal, what's not a deal. You could hear on the phone. Anyways, the reason why I say all that is that I threw that pretty much all out the window. And what I said earlier in this show was what made the lead to conversion ratio higher was by reading the book How to Win Friends and Influence People, and by putting that into a script, and then by giving them the options of making them the one to sell to me, right? By saying just be honest, right? Just being honest. Like, I always say these are going to be the ballparks. You never give a definitive offer, and give them the ballparks for each thing if they don't give me their price first. So I always ask, hey, what would you want if we could give you cash? And then instead of me constantly trying to go through a brick wall, because that's what I did for so long, is try to go through a brick wall of like, give me the price. First, I'll ask if they're not willing to give it. I might ask another time, but if they're still not willing to kind of budge or give me their ballpark, and I was like, hey, no sweat. I always tell them I'm not in the business of rushing anybody. So I said what we would be at in the ballpark of the cash offer this, the retail buyer program, Novations this, the listing would be probably around this ballpark. And I always get ballparks. I said, I still got to get this approved. You can't be like, this is all. And I said, what would be your best fit? Do you think you would go down? And then they'll tell me, because now I've just given it from A to Z, I've given you all options. There's nowhere else you could go to get a better option. I'm sorry. So that script that I just told you, there's no better option out there besides what, unless I lost some kind of rapport, there's no other option. You're going to get all the prices from me. It's a one-stop shop, and that's how we get all the contracts that we do.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think there's also just knowing you. I'm sure there's some other things here that are a little bit less obvious or a little bit more hidden, you could say, right? Because let's just say I'm a robot and I bring them on. I say, you have 3 options. Here's what you could do, right? That's right. If there's not that trust there, if there's not that rapport, then
100%.
then we're not in a good position. Do you have any tips? And I know a lot of this book that you're referencing, which I've read personally, How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's a lot of this stuff would be very applicable to this. But in terms of like the actual like script for the negotiation and the offer presentation and stuff like that, like I feel like I understand that. Do you have any advice on getting to that point in the call? Things like making sure that you actually get a hold of them. What does that typically look like for you guys? And how do you how do you make yourself stick apart from the other several people probably calling them right at the beginning after they filled out multiple forms online, and just getting to the point where they even like trust you enough that you're that deep into the conversation that you are talking about offers?
Man, that's a great question. So as you probably already know, it's speed to lead when it comes to PPC. So when you get, I'm like, talking about me being a father, I'm probably like the worst father when it's at the dinner table. When I'm at the dinner table again, I had acquisition guys. We're going to be hiring some more acquisition guys coming this month. But currently, as the only acquisition guy who's dealing with the PPC leads, I'll literally be at the dinner table and we'll get a lead that comes in through Brandon Bateman, and I'll run I'll say, oh, gotta go. I'll run to the office and I'll hop on the phone and get them, and just kind of, hey, I got, and so basically my opening is just saying, hey, this is Aaron. I saw that you filled out a form here at Seller's New Day. Did I catch you at a bad time? And if they say no, this is a good time, perfect. And I just go right into, hey, it looks like a great property. Why are you looking to sell? And then, boom, you go right into it, right? Our follow-up process, let's say they didn't answer their phone. We do a double tap, text, email. We call it a footprint, right? Making sure you're always in front of them. Making sure you have a CRM. We use Left Main, sorta. So from there, every day I'm just calling and texting them and emailing them every single day to get them on the phone. I have pre-recording text messages, so I like to get to my leads quick. I have a dialer set within our CRM, so it's literally like click, go. I have a voicemail drop where it just drops the voicemail, so they get a voicemail, text, email, and we call, like I said, when I say footprints, because they know, they see us, everything, right? So if they decide not to call back, then we did everything in our power to do that. Now again, this is virtual. I can't just go to drive to their house, but yeah, we're on it pretty hard.
Okay, yeah, that's awesome. I appreciate all that feedback and everything. Is there anything else that you'd give as advice? So for your context, Aaron, the people listening to this podcast are often our clients, or they're people considering working with us. Do you have any advice for either of those groups of people?
Oh man, I'm always giving you guys a shout out, Brandon. You guys have, we've tried out one or two others. People are doing PPC now. What happened was, I think it was the red beards that really got me drawn to. No, I'm just kidding. No, you guys have been fantastic. You guys built a rapport with myself. Always being on it when we email you an issue, or if there is any. For example, like let's say a lead we got a false lead, and I say, hey, can you guys fix this? You guys are on it. And again, I feel like there's a connection between me and your team. I had a chance to hang out with a couple of guys from your team at the last CG meeting. You guys were fantastic. We were hanging on the rooftop throwing back drinks, so that was really cool. But other than that, like I said, and we talked about that earlier too. I want to make sure this is done right. I want to see my return, so I'm going to have a team that does this systematically. Too many people, I think, just kind of throw stuff at the wall and let it. I mean, you're going to know more than I do, but my last return that I got from the other program, I mean, the leads just weren't coming in. He didn't have the structure, the infrastructure that they needed. I mean, you guys definitely have the infrastructure. You also seem like a good leader with your team. A lot of people look up to you, and and you can see that. And I want my marketing to be led by a good person and somebody who's definitely knows what they're talking about.
Yeah, well, thank you, Aaron. My fish for compliments looks to have worked perfectly. So I appreciate you, and everybody take note. I mean, you've been incredible to work with. So any vendors listening to this, go call up Aaron and try to get him to buy your stuff, because he's great
no,
for
not,
that.
Not anymore.
Yeah. Well, it has been awesome to have you on here. I think you've added tons of value. Is there any, or if someone wants to get a hold of you for whatever reason, how can they do that?
Yep, just hit me up on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Go check out my podcast as well, the Real Estate Block Podcast, where we have guys just like myself just doing consistent deals. But that's about it.
Very cool. Tell me, is there some way we can support you in that? I imagine if you have that podcast, that you're doing some coaching or something like that.
No, not yet. We're just giving out value. The reason why I started our podcast was because when I saw the market correction, we felt it pretty hard that for those first 2 months, right? And I thought, we were the only ones feeling it, and then we realized, oh crap, everybody's feeling it. It doesn't matter how big or small your business was, everybody felt it. And I thought, I had some other buddies say that they went out of business, all kinds of stuff. And I said, heck no, I want to make sure we add value to and help people, that people are still doing deals. Let's get a platform built for people to go to, so they could bug the people that I bring onto the podcast, somebody they could reach out to, a helping hand. So it really started with, how can I help people during this downturn?
Okay, understood. Well, that is awesome. I didn't know that was just a value add to just help people. But that's awesome, Aaron. So anybody, I encourage you to listen to the podcast. I have no doubt that what Aaron puts out there is some solid stuff, and I think that's a really interesting premise too. Any last words before we close things up today?
No, I just appreciate you, and thank you so much for having me on your show, brother.
Yeah, likewise, Aaron. Thank you for coming. For everybody listening, that's it for today's show, and I'll see you on the next one.